Rain lashed against the windows. John, nestled by the fire, felt a chill, not from the weather but from the thick, creamy envelope he held. No return address, just his name in elegant, spidery script. His comfortable life as a history professor felt a world away. Inside, the letter was brief, unsettling. Your life is built on a lie. Discover the truth or be consumed by it. No signature, just a single chilling instruction. The address of an abandoned factory on the edge of town. John tried to dismiss it as a prank. His life, while quiet, was good. He was respected, loved by his students, content. Yet the letter, with its implied threat, wormed into his mind. The fire crackled, mocking his attempts to ignore the growing unease. He knew deep down that he couldn't ignore it. Something about the letter, its air of menace, spoke to a primal fear. He was being watched, judged, and he had to confront it. The factory loomed, a skeletal silhouette against the storm-racked sky. Its windows were vacant eyes, the rusted sign above the entrance groaning in the wind. John's car, a splash of incongruous colour in the desolate landscape, seemed to hesitate before pulling into the overgrown driveway. Stepping out, he was met by the oppressive silence of the place. The air was thick with the smell of decay and something else, metallic and sharp. He shivered, pulling his coat tighter. The letter had mentioned no time, and the encroaching twilight only added to the unsettling atmosphere. A single door, its paint peeling like scabs, stood ajar. John approached cautiously, his footsteps echoing in the silence. His hand trembled as he pushed it open, the rusty hinges screaming in protest. The stench intensified, a mixture of oil, damp earth, and something sickly sweet. He stepped inside, the door closing behind him with a resounding clang. The darkness seemed to press in, suffocating. John fumbled for his lighter, the small flame doing little to pierce the gloom. He was trapped. The lighter illuminated a room stripped bare, the concrete floor littered with debris. Chains hung from the ceiling, their shadows dancing menacingly in the flickering light. In the centre, a wooden table with a contraption of gears, wires, and a ticking clock. John approached cautiously, the metallic scent stronger here. A raspy voice echoed from the shadows. "Ah, good, you've arrived." John whirled around, but there was no one there. The voice seemed to come from the walls themselves. "Intrigued, I hope. Consider this a test, John, a chance to atone for your sins. The clock is ticking. Solve the puzzle, and the door will open. Fail, and—" The voice trailed off, leaving the threat hanging in the air. The air grew colder as John descended deeper into the factory's bowels. Each puzzle he solved, each lock he picked, led to another level, each more disturbing than the last. He encountered remnants of past tests, a blood-stained shoe, a single finger bone, a child's doll with one eye dangling by a thread. He tried to block out the implications, focusing on the task at hand. The voice continued to taunt him, revealing snippets of his past, twisting events, making him doubt his own memories. The line between truth and fabrication blurred. The deeper he descended, the more oppressive the atmosphere became. The silence was broken only by the drip of water and the scuttling of rats. The air was thick with the dust of decay and something else, something ancient and evil that seemed to cling to him, seeping into his pores. He was no longer sure if he was playing for his life or his sanity. Section 5. The Workshop. The workshop was a charnel house of rusted gears, broken dolls, and instruments of torture that would have made the medieval mind blush. Cobwebs hung like shrouds, and the air was thick with the coppery tang of blood. In the centre of the room, strapped to a chair, was a man. His eyes were wide with terror, his clothes ripped and stained. He looked at John, his gaze pleading. "Man, help me," he croaked, his voice hoarse. John asked, taking a hesitant step forward. "John, who are you, man?" "Another pawn," the man rasped. "He enjoys watching us suffer. He calls it a lesson. Before John could ask another question, the rasping voice filled the room. Voice! Curious, isn't it, to see the consequences of your actions? John, what actions? John cried out, his voice echoing in the vast chamber. What have I done? The voice chuckled, a chilling sound that sent shivers down John's spine. Voice, you'll see, you'll all see. Section 6, the revelation. The final puzzle was a mirror, a metaphorical reflection of John's life, his choices, his reality. The voice revealed the truth behind the letter, the sins he had to atone for. A tragic accident years ago, a hit-and-run John had no memory of. A young woman, her life snuffed out in a moment of carelessness. The police never found the culprit. John had driven away, consumed by fear and guilt. He had buried the memory so deep, almost believing it was a nightmare. But the voice chipped away at his facade. The details were too specific, too real. Denial turned to sickening realization. He had done it. He had killed her. The voice spoke of justice, of atonement. It spoke of the young woman's family, their lives shattered by his actions. It spoke of the need for balance, for retribution. The room spun, the weight of his guilt crushing him. He had built his life on a lie, and now it was crumbling around him. Section 7, the choice. Before him lay 2 syringes, one filled with a clear liquid, the other a swirling black. Choose, the voice commanded, its tone devoid of emotion. Choose life and you condemn another. Choose death and you end this cycle. John looked from the syringes to the man strapped to the chair, his eyes wide with terror. He could forget and walk away, but at what cost? Another innocent life sacrificed for his illusion of innocence? Or he could end it, confess his sin, and face oblivion. Section 8, the aftermath. The police found the factory deserted. The intricate traps had been dismantled, the rooms emptied of their grim trophies. The only sign that anything was amiss was the single syringe, its contents untouched, lying on the cold concrete floor. John's disappearance remained a mystery. Some whispered of a breakdown. Others of a new life started under a new identity. The truth, buried deep within the factory's cold embrace, was far more sinister. The factory stood silent, a watchful sentinel on the edge of town. Its secrets remained locked within its rusted walls, a testament to the darkness that lurked beneath the surface of ordinary lives. The game, however, was far from over. The cycle of guilt, of retribution, of carefully orchestrated torment was ready to begin anew. For somewhere another soul, grappling with a hidden past, would receive a creamy envelope, their name penned in elegant script, beckoning them towards their own personal hell. Section 9. The cycle continues. A lone figure, shrouded in shadow, sat in a dimly lit room. Before him a desk covered in newspaper clippings, photographs and files, each one detailing a life meticulously documented, a sin waiting to be judged. He picked up a photo, a faded image of a young woman, her smile radiant. His hand trembled slightly, a flicker of sadness crossing his face. He placed the photo down next to a freshly written letter in an elegant, spidery script. The cycle continues.